It's raining. Alright, so I do like rain though. I especially like rain when like the smell of rain right after it's hot outside and you get that like I need to learn the science of what's happening with it, but you know, like the shift in temperature and humidity and all that, you know, creates this, you know, summer rain like smell. But like, yeah, let's see. So yeah, so there in Old School Runescape, which is, yeah, you know, what I'm going to be making this video about is the differences in perceived value of items per amount and usefulness, or, you know, utility. Okay, so yeah, I'm just going to do this and problem solved. Okay, so little, you know, just kind of cover it. So one moment. So, if your main point for playing the game, which is the, you know, consensus for what the main driving force is, you know, skilling and I'm gonna find a spot where there's a tree. Should help as well. All right. If your main purpose for playing the game is like skilling and like combat and stuff like that, and you're wanting to boss and make your money in that way, then your view of what the usefulness of items are for that goal, and you know the amount of bank spaces you have available to you to, you know, decide whether to keep an item or not, is going to be towards, you know, stuff like bronze, low level items, you know, anything like that. You know, the drops around that happen around the Grand Exchange vials. You know, things that are just kind of left over, but to, you know, are going to be, you know, lower value because they're getting in your way of doing that. But to someone that is collecting, that is trying to get, you know, a huge amount of those, you know, one man's trash is another man's treasure, and you can turn, you know, that junk or that trash into you know, something valuable. Like some person made fun of it in the group, talking about how like it's like being a used car salesman or something. But this is also from that point of view or perspective of like the skilling, which is probably the 99% of the people playing it, because that is what's advertised, and that's what you feel you're getting into. You know what I mean? It's like the general vibe of the game, but you have other options with gold. Like if they have the option where you can trade gold with other people, then the person decides what they want to pay or what they want to sell something for. And there are reasons to take something that's seen as junk and turn it into something that is seen as really valuable or sought after, because the same reasoning that applies to the why you would buy that other item. Like you can only use that T-bow if you're doing combat. You can only wear that armor if you're kind of fashion-scaping / you need armor for what you're doing, and you just have like extra gold, and you're like, hey, cool, I can afford to put this trim on here, that kind of thing. But versus if you have items, or on the other hand, kind of thing, from another perspective, those items, you can use those to trade for any other item, and there's different levels of how much someone wants something. Like if you've had something that shows a GE value of 3 mil, but it's kind of just been sitting in your bank and you don't care about it, versus you see someone has, say, like 1K bronze daggers or something like that, and you've never seen that before, you may actually want the bronze daggers more than that item that's 3 mil. Granted, you could say, well, I could sell the item that's 3 mil and buy the bronze daggers, but the you can't do that because of the buy limit. Like the buy limit on it is 50 at a time, so that means that you have to wait outside the Grand Exchange, get people to buy it for you. You have to get lucky with the deal, kind of, with the other collector to offer the right price, so where it'll be within their perceived range of what they're wanting to sell it for. And of course you can, make your luck better or worse by going with the accepted prices for such among the collectors, but even within that person at that time might just want more for that or less for that. And so that GE value at the top is not the god of like what you should spend. I mean, because that GE value is only tracking how much are people paying inside of the Grand Exchange. So you just simply, you would not charge, this is an extreme example, but if someone had like 1,000 T-bows and each one is 1 bill, you would not just charge 1 trill for 1,000 T-bows, even though that's a lot of gold. Like it's a lot harder to get 1,000 T-bows than it is for one. Like, to the point where you might just rather use each one for trade, or you might rather keep it than sell it. You probably would rather keep it than sell it, because that's who has 1 trill, and who's going to put it all on like one item like that? When, in reality, you could probably charge, who knows, like, 10 trill. because of how long it took to buy it. So, yeah. And the other part of my point is there are kind of these brackets or lists or tiers that open up between, like, you've got, you know, absolute, what's considered just absolute trash that people just completely throw away, and there's, like, which you may even separate into usefulness, like, the general idea of the value is usefulness for skilling and combat. And in that bracket, burnt food, even though it was almost voted in for as being a part of Slayer, I don't remember. I don't know exactly what the purpose was, but yeah, something to do with, you know, getting more experience or gaining more, like, health points or something like that. But, like, which is another reason to collect it, because what if it was added into the game and you had a, you know, 10 mil stack of them, and all of a sudden they're 1k each, you know? But yeah, aside from that, yeah, it pretty much goes like burnt food, crushed gems, tar. Really, in a sense, you could say tar is beneath them, because it's not even that you can't buy it in the Grand Exchange. You technically can, it's just, like, it won't sell because, like, it's not used that much. You could put them in the same category. I personally would put tar and, like, arrow shafts even beneath burnt food and crushed gems, just because you know, it's a lot easier to acquire those, but you know, that's just me. And, you know, in general, it seems like most people would put the burnt food and crushed gems below those, because at least the tar at some point has a use in the game for, like, using for, like, the salamanders. But yeah, so then you've got your like, your junk window shopping items. So, or it's like you get to the things where it's like, I don't, you know, if it was one or two of them, it's like, I wouldn't really want that for really anything. But if you had a whole bunch of it, it starts to be into the dressing up your collection, and that's the materials like leather, like leather boots, you know, vambraces. Yeah, the bodies and stuff like that, coifs, wooden shields, you know, that kind of little area. And then you've got, like, the tier of bronze, you know, your beginning smithing kind of materials, you know, copper, tin, you know, bronze bars, you know, bronze sets, helm, all that deal. Then there's, you know, you start getting in the tier of, you know, level 20 stuff. I think when you start getting into, like, beginner food and iron, and you know, it's like when you're first starting to get a a grasp of what you can do to better your chances for combat and not just like swinging, you know. So maybe some potions, things like that. Then you know, so on and so forth. There's these different brackets, and then there's a difference. From there, it might be like steel and beginning crafting pots, plant pots, maybe some seeds, stuff like that. Seeds would probably be, might even be a notch below it. But the point is, you know, if you have a whole lot of the item that is like one notch below, it's not a huge stretch to go ahead and trade that for one notch above. And then you have people trying to trade up, and I think what they don't realize is you can have an item that's technically worth just as much, you know, the way I'm looking at it with, you know, if you have like 10 million burnt food and you can charge 100 times the price, or, you know, 200 times the price, really. 100 times is starting at 100k. But a lot of collectors have forgotten that because of, you know, the other perceived value. But, you know, it will sway someone's opinion on, you know, whether they want to buy it just because of the type of item it is, even if it's technically worth the same amount of gold. So then you can, instead of how people just kind of stand outside the Grand Exchange and trade up for whatever, you know, I've got 13k gold, you know, trading up for anything over 13k gold. If you instead say, like, you know, trading up, you know, what's something that's 13k? Like an Ami, like a glory, an amulet of glory, you know, and say, like, you know, trading for, what's one step above that? I don't know, like a rune scimitar or something like that. Then, you know, that's going to be a lot more successful than, yeah, really just rune items in general would probably be like the one step above the amulets and stuff. But yeah, that trade's going to happen a lot more often, a lot more frequently. You're going to be able to trade up a lot more successfully doing that. And I'm still working out kind of the leverage points exactly of how much of this item at this other tier equates to how many of these other items at this other tier, in like the common view of it. And you know, this is the Taurian work. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it doesn't have to be every tourist, but I'm saying when y'all are like, you know, get off your ass and stop playing that game, bruh, Virgo is our 5th house. Like, you know, all the entertainment and shit y'all watch, you know, all those shows, all those games you play, entertainment, it's fucking Tauruses. Like, that's our job, like, making sure that, like, now you got, like, higher and lower vibe Tauruses, like, making all that, but, like, you know, we're the ones that sit there and grind through all the details of, you know, what are people watching? What are they, like, paying attention to? What are they entertained by? When do they keep working on something? When do they give up on it? That seems like it's kind of random thrown in there, but like, you know, looking at it through the lens of we're the ones managing the energy, like, you know, a lot of the ways that a tourist might make money involve judging when someone else is going to keep working on something and when they're going to give up on it. So, like, you know, maybe an example is like when somebody does like a eating contest. You know, like if you eat this whole pizza before, which it's not healthy for you, but you know, if you made it like, if you eat all this vegetarian and vegan food, like you eat all these plants and vegetables, like in one sitting or something, it's still not healthy, but yeah, you get what I mean. It's just something that came to my mind. I wouldn't advise it or say like that's something you should do. I'm just saying that to give an idea of how it works. Like, you know, if you can eat all this, it's free. Versus, you know, if you give up, you have to pay, you know, $100, $200 or something. But so that's, you know, that's why, and that ends up being a lot about, you know, collecting and collections, because, you know, you see that an item is valued by someone, but they just may not have the space for it. So, you know, you grab that item knowing that you can sell it to someone else that does have the space for it. But yeah, so I think that's about it for this video. Yeah. I think that's about it. So, you know. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe if you feel inclined. You know, as I'm playing this game, I notice these things, and I figured it'd be useful for people playing, and you know, obviously it helps me as well if it is to grow. So that means that, you know, the time and effort that I've put into things, you know, there's gonna be more people into it, and you know, I can help you guys get really awesome looking collections in your bank. So, and you know, that'll translate, because there are themes, you know, that'll translate into, and already is translating into, in other things outside of that. But so yeah, yeah, talk to you guys later.